tjedan obrazovanja za nas je ponos.
Izazov.
Otvorena knjiga.
Fokus u pripremi. Rast i razvoj. Bogatstvo.
Podržite Opću gimnaziju Katoličkog školskog centra u Banja Luci i ostale balkanske škole besplatnom registracijom na worldedu.org.
Good evening, dear friends. Heartfelt greetings from the beautiful Bosnia and Herzegovina. We welcome you tonight from the wonderful Banja Luka, which is located on the 44th degree of northern geographical latitude and the 17th degree of eastern geographical length. My name is Helena Šumić, and I'm the student of the Catholic School Center General Gymnasium Blessed Ivan Merz in Banja Luka. And I, tonight, will be a moderator together with my colleague, Aleksandra Zanic, who is the president of the student council of our school.
Tonight, you will have the opportunity to get to know the unique teaching practice developed to work with talented and gifted students. Our school has been supporting talented and gifted students for the past 15 years. Since the last school year, we have been making even more of an effort with the work of the team for supporting gifted and talented students, which was popularly called Team for NIT at our school.
The project to support gifted and talented students named Evening with the NIT is a part of a teaching practice concerning several spectacular workshops. Thanks to these workshops, you will learn how the essence of the teaching subject can give creative dimension to the teaching practice of biology, physics, music, mathematics, and the mother tongue. That's why we hope that you will enjoy this evening with our gifted and talented professors, members of the NIT team of KŠC-a General Gymnasium in Banja Luka. Spend the evening with the NIT.
We have some wonderful guests for you tonight, and the first one up is Monsignor Ivica Božinović, Vicar for Secondary Education of the Banja Luka Diocese.
Pozdraviti sve sudionike Svjetske nedjelje obrazovanja, a osobito sve one koji su s nama na ovaj način povezani u ovom trenutku. Velika je čast našoj školi biti sudionik ovog svjetskog događaja. Čast, ali i velika obveza.
Next, you will get the opportunity to hear a speech by Dr. Predrag Damjanović, Director of the Republic Educational Institute. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us tonight, so his speech will be read by our headmistress Anđa Tomić.
Drago mi je da jedna škola, a u ovom slučaju to je Opća gimnazija Katoličkog školskog centra Banja Luka iz Republike Srpske, učestvuje u ovom događaju globalnog nivoa u kojem učestvuje 100 škola iz cijelog svijeta.
And last but certainly not least is Mr. Ilja Trnić, Director of the NGO Perpetuum Mobile Institute for Youth Development and the Banja Luka community.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity being here together. It is a very important event for young people, especially talented and gifted people here in this area, not only here, but worldwide. So me as a representative of NGO, actually civil society organization, we have a very good cooperation with Catholic School Center, working with the gifted and talented people here in this area. So it is very important because we really support young people and develop community together with them.
Now, professors of our school will talk about working with talented and gifted students. After their presentation, you shall have an opportunity to ask questions about the presented practice. The questions may be asked via chat.
First of all, we have Professor of Biology in the General Gymnasium, Catholic School Center, Blessed Ivan Metz, Tanja Marić, who will tell you all about cells, DNA, plant pigments, and the human heart. Good evening.
Good evening. We want to share a part of biology workshop with you. Biology, as the science of life, consists of different areas of research that gives us many opportunities to apply different learning and teaching methods. Here, you can see how our student prepares a microscope slide from plant material. When we learn about cells as the basic units of all living beings, it's very important to connect theoretical and practical knowledge.
DNA is a carrier of genetic information. On this 3D model, we can see that DNA is doubled with a chain of polynucleotides. People, this banana, and all other living beings have DNA in their cells. It's especially interesting to learn about DNA through experiments like this one, where we isolate the DNA from a tissue of banana. In a few steps, we have presented this experiment here. It's amazing how with this simple experiment we can get DNA which can be observed with the naked eye.
Plant pigments are molecules that give plants their color. We can differentiate green pigments chlorophylls, yellow xanthophylls, orange keratin, and others. Besides that, plant pigments also participate in the process of photosynthesis, from which are created oxygen and organic matter. It's interesting that from just one spinach leaf can be extracted these pigments. Here are shown basic steps of this experiment, and as a result we got lower layer with chlorophylls and xanthophylls and upper layer with keratin.
The heart is a vital organ inside our body. It is located in the chest, and by using the 3D model we can see that it is actually a hollow muscle made up of 2 atria and 2 ventricles, and that the veins supply the heart with blood while the arteries take the blood away from it. Our heart rate represents how many times our heart beats per minute. We can actually feel it at certain points on our body where arteries run closest to the surface. That is here, here, and here. Also, by combining biology and modern technology, we can measure it by using mobile apps. Our blood pressure is an indicator of both our blood flow and our heart rate. That is why it's very important that during our education we learn how to measure it properly.
A biology workshop can help us to identify a gifted child. Such students have an interdisciplinary approach to learning, using and linking biology knowledge with other subjects.
And now, our professor of music, Dr. Suzana Kusovac-Sladoje, and Professor of Physics, Andrana Kovačević-Ćurić, will present you the workshop with Rhythm Through Africa Meet Physics.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A djembe is one of the oldest percussion instruments in the world. It originates from West Africa. A djembe is held between your legs while a player beats the rhythm with his hands. Playing technique is based on 3 basic sounds. Bass. You are supposed to put your hands in the middle of a membrane. Tone. It is produced by hitting the edge of the membrane with your palms. Remember, never use your fingers to produce a tone. Slap. The wrist is directed downwards and the fingers are slightly bent. You play on the edge of the membrane. The tempo of improvisation, the encouragement of talent, which will result in our tonight's workshop name, with Rhythm Through Africa Meet Physics.
Good evening. I will be presenting the second part of our workshop with Rhythm Through Africa Meet Physics, and I will be explaining connection between music and physics but also introducing you with electromagnetic waves and reflection. In the next video, we will see how our experiment was made. My students put a membrane on the bottom side of the djembe and glued a small mirror on the membrane. Every impact of Zoran's hands on djembe makes mechanical oscillations that are traveling to air in the tube, and because of them, small mirror vibrates. When a laser beam is shined on the small mirror reflects light beam back. And incident angle and reflected angle are the same. Every disturbing of the small mirror will affect laser beam, so you can see different pattern on the floor. In the last video, you saw some kind of application of electromagnetic waves, but we didn't say anything about them. Heinrich Hertz, a German physicist, was first who demonstrated them using very simple equipment. In the next video, you will see how my students made that experiment. We used a modified lighter that provided a high voltage pulse. You will see in the next video spark. That pulse is traveling to space, and if you want to receive them, you must use an antenna. We made an antenna. The antenna consists from aluminum foil, plates and wires. Also, the antenna must be connected to a receiver, exactly detector, and we use voltmeter. Every time student presses the button on the modified lighter, jump in voltage can be seen on the screen of voltmeter. Thank you.
Next, we have Brankica Novakovic, professor of our mother tongue, who will share her experience with the connection between gift and talent and the beauty of our language.
Ova čarovna transcendencija u koju individua upada, grči se.
An endless dialogue on ultimate things has begun with a letter of young individual from whom further the word and the color has dripped.
U stvaranju vrijednosti koje mogu ili ne mogu biti ostvarene, otkrivene.
An intimate space of library, an essay by Jovana Tešanović, a multiply gifted and talented student, has turned into a monologue. And thanks to cooperation with the Dean of the Faculty of Fine Arts at the Independent University of Banja Luka, the syncretism revived idea of synesthesia.
Jasna da se naglasi nemoćnost koja vlada u čovjekovoj auri. Individua čija je tendencija u
get accounted to all theories, master all techniques, and as long as you touch human soul, be another human soul.
Čovjek da bi živio, čovjek da bi preživio, on misli odbijajući se samog od sebe, od uma i materije, pravići taj isti diskurs, stvarajući tako i pokazujući kroz različite oblike njegovog egzistiranja. Dezorijentisanost koja postoji, koja će postojati dok postoji čovjek, neprekidno se rađa i umire.
Therefore, specific abilities and their above average care require a pure heart which in its inspiration can quiet and gently teach the ones from whom they learn.
And now we shall learn how mathematics can be both fun and infinite. So here Natasha Ratza, Professor of Mathematics and the workshop Infinity and Beyond.
Good evening. Tonight, I challenge you to prove that mathematics can be infinitely fun. You try to assume the opposite, but we will prove the claim, infinite and beyond.
Today was a really hard day at school. Absolutely. I can't wait to rest. But we still got a whole hour till the bus.
Is that so much?
So much.
But how will you fill our time so we don't get bored? I have a better idea.
I found it, Zoran. Look, the task that teacher Natasha gave us for our World Education Week math workshop, it's here. Determine the continuum of the sequence A1 equals A2 equals etc. equals AN equals 1. Ugh. This math problem gives me so many headaches. Let's wait for tomorrow and try to solve it together with our teacher. What do you think?
Or the three of us can solve it together. Team brainstorming is better than solo, right?
Then we can maybe surprise her. Great, she'll be proud.
Well, my ladies, let's get to work.
One eternity later.
Maybe we just reached the plateau in learning.
We call the determinant of the series the determinant of the form.
Already written.
Well, maybe it was valid the determinant by the first column.
No, it's completely the same. They have the same number of zeros. What about the second row? No, look, they're n-1 zeros, so the first one suits them better.
What are we missing?
As our teacher is always saying, seek the inspiration for math in art.
Wait, Ivana, look, the resulting recurrent formula is actually the formula for the Fibonacci number.
That means that the Fibonacci sequence is a component of a given sequence. Makes sense. Actually, the composition is made by encoding the Fibonacci sequence into the piano music. What a coincidence. Tara, what's the formula of the characteristic roots if they're realistic and different?
Wait a second, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know which book it's in.
Bravo, we did it. We did it!
Instead of helping us, you're always by the computer.
What are you even doing? I came up with our math problem C++, so look.
All we have to do is compile it, run it, type dimensions, rows, press enter, and voila.
You're a genius. With the help of this code, we can solve any other problem. No, we are the geniuses. When we are a team.
Hey, maybe it's not that bad that we got stuck at school together. I mean... Oh no. We missed the bus again.
Great. Enough time for another math problem, because...
Math has never been more fun!
My heart is truly full of pride because those three curious young people have chosen to do math, not because they need to, but because they want to.
I have asked a lot of interesting questions. We will choose a couple and respond to them, but we remain open for communication after the meeting. Speakers are available through their email addresses, and they are open to share their good teaching methods. Contact them. So, on to the questions.
As my colleague Helena already said, you've sent us a lot of questions, but we had to select a few that we liked the best. So let's begin. The first question is to our dear biology professor and our beloved homeroom teacher, Professor Tanya. Professor Tanya, what are your tips for modernizing biology learning and teaching through workshops?
Thank you, Alexandra. That's a great question. My tips for modernizing biology learning and teaching through workshops are using modern technology such as mobile applications, video animations, using and making 3D models, performing experiments, work in small groups with motivated students, Also, it's always interesting hold biology workshop in nature. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we can all learn something from that answer. The next one up is our mother tongue professor, Professor Brankica. Can you please describe to us all of the steps in motivating a gifted and talented student?
Thank you. Gifted and talented students look for intrinsic notes, thus the sensibility of spontaneous and free approach where the possibility to express themselves truly actually presents complete intrinsicality. Therefore, trust is the only sensibility.
What a helpful response. And now, music. Professor Susanna, how does a music workshop encourage talent?
Being simple but powerful, it easily awakes rhythm captured in every individual, which is the foundation of working on the development of talent, which has been proved through presentation made by our students.
Thank you. And now it's time for everyone's favorite, physics. Professor Andrana, how to make a successful workshop if you have a larger group of students?
Well, last year I had opportunity to have work with very big group. There were 24 or 26 students, and I divided them in 4 groups, but it wasn't enough. So I asked for help from my talented and gifted students, and they helped me. It was very successful.
Thank you. Sometimes it's best to learn from experience. And last but never ever least, Professor Natasha, how do you recognize a real mathematician?
A real mathematician?
Yes.
Ooh, that's truly a tough question. Well, in my opinion, a true mathematician isn't always a child with great mathematical logical aspect of their intelligence. It's a child that is truly eager for knowledge. I think that this is the best way to describe it. You can clearly see in their gaze, always a question. Professor, why is that? They can patiently wait for every information and absorb that information like a sponge. I think that a child that is gifted in mathematics is a pure soul, and to sum up, he is a true artist.
Thank you. After we've heard all of these wonderful responses, it's time to summarize everything that you have had an opportunity to learn during our presentation. So, Helena.
So, on to the main question of the presentation. What can teachers in other schools learn from our teaching practice? Number 1, recognize the importance of mentoring as a successful model of working with gifted and talented students in physics, mathematics, mother tongue, music, and biology. Number 2, recognize that working in small groups is a successful form of teaching in gifted and talented students. For gifted and talented students, it is important to learn to work with other students in various ways, both in some practical and in some social activities. Number 3, the benefits and opportunities to support gifted and talented students through workshops that apply Gardner's model of specific abilities, talents, or intelligence. Number 4, through the support of gifted and talented students, we purposefully recognize a gifted child with an innovative approach. We motivate students and encourage their talents. And lastly, number 5, today, the teacher should not only be a lecturer and assessor, but increasingly a planner, programmer, diagnostician, researcher, organizer, guide, innovator, and advisor. The more a teacher perfects these skills, the more inventive and democratic his or her work style is. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. As we come to a close, we must give our thanks to Mr. Vikas and Ed Balkan. But most importantly, thank you. Thank you for being with us and making our story special and significant. World Education Week is an opportunity to learn from each other, to build bridges on which we shall walk together, teaching and learning. We hope that we will stay in touch.